All right, for this lesson, we are naming numbers through the 100 billions. And so today you got kind of this chart, and you need to glue it or tape it in at the very top. And we're going to fill it out. Okay, so first I'm just going to write kind of this random number, and then we're going to write kind of the place value of each number. So I'm going to do a 4, a 3, a 2, 1, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and 2. Okay, and if you've noticed, if you've looked at this chart that I passed out to you, we have a comma, a comma, a comma, and then this is a decimal point. So when we're looking at our numbers beyond to the right, this is our decimal, so our tenths, and we're not going to worry about that right now. What we're worrying about is our whole number, so this is all before the decimal point. So what we're going to do, we're just going to go through and name what each number stands for. So, simple, we're going to start with our ones. Okay, and that's kind of what this is called. And our very first number, if I were to cover up all of these numbers and I said we had a 2, what column is this number in? What is this place value? All right, and if you said ones, you are correct. So I'm going to kind of turn my notebook. I know for a second it's going to look kind of goofy. Ones. All right, so I have my ones. Now, if I were to cover, the rest of my numbers here, and I have my 3, what place value is that 3? And if you said tens, you are correct. All right, I have my ones, I have my tens, and I think now you kind of have the hang of it. You know what comes next. Next is my hundreds. So I would have 4 hundreds, 3 tens, and 2 ones. So I'm going to write hundreds. Hundreds. All right, so I have my ones, my tens, my hundreds, and what comes next? This category, we're going to label what this category is. So once I get above my ones, I have my thousands. So my first column, if you were to read this number, you would say 5,432. So that 5, that's my thousands. All right, and my next column, now I have 65,432, and this is my 10,000s, my 10,000 place value. So 10,000. And if you continue with kind of the pattern you see, next I have 765,432. So my 7 is going to be my 100,000s. So my 100,000. All right, and I'm at my next chunk. In my next chunk, we started with our ones, then we went to our thousands, and what is after our thousands? Our millions. All right, so if we kind of follow what we did with our thousands, we know exactly what to write for our millions. And so if we start with our 8 million here, we know that is just our millions, so we're gonna write millions. I might in parentheses write ones, this is just our one, so our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 million. But then, once we hit our next number, kind of like we did with our thousands, our 10,000s, now we have our 10 millions. Right, 10 millions. So if I were to read that number, it would be 98,765,432. All right, and again, if we follow, this would be our 1 would be our 100 millions. All right, and we're done with that chunk. But now we're moving on to our next chunk. So we have our ones, we have our thousands, and our millions. And what is the next chunk of numbers? Our billions. All right, so again, just gonna follow like we did before. We have our first billion, so this is our billion column with kind of like our ones. So you can write billions, in parentheses 1, our ones. Those billions go all the way up to 9, and then we hit, if we have more than 9 billion, we hit our 10 billions. We're in our 10 billions. And last but not least, if you have more than 10 billion or 90 billion and you're going up, you have to reach your 100 billions. All right, and we have filled in our chart. Now I kind of want to talk about something again. When we are reading numbers, you need to read them by chunks. So what I always do is I read my number that I have, and it would say 432, and what's my title? Billion. The next one, 198,765,432. And so every time you reach your comma, you name the chunk. So you read the number, stop at your comma, name your chunk, and then move on. 432 billion, 198 million, 765,432. All right, we just have 4 easy questions to answer, and then you'll have your lesson practice. All right, the first one says, which digit shows the number of 100 billions in this number, okay? So again, you can look back up and use your chart to help you. So we have our ones, our tens, our hundreds, our thousands, our 10,000s, our 100,000s, our millions, 10 millions, 100 millions, our billions, 10 billions, and then what do we want? Our 100 billions. So what digit? Our 9. That would be our answer. That number, that digit, shows us our 100 billions. All right, the next one says, what is the value of 2 in this number? Okay, so if we're looking at this number, we want to know what does 2 represent? And so here, again, if you want to, I always start from the back and work my way forwards. We have 1, so this would be 8 ones. This would be a 7, so it's in our tens column, so we know we have 70. Our 6 in our hundreds, so we have 600. Our 5 in our thousands, so we have 5,000. Our 4 in our 10,000, so we have 40,000. Our 3 in our 100,000 column, so 300,000. Our 2 in our million column, so what is the value of 2? It is 2 million. Or you can write it 2, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. 2 million. All right, the next one is going to be a little tricky. It says use words to name this number, okay? And I purposely left out my commas. So let's go ahead and put in our commas first, and then we can name it. All right, so 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma. All right, perfect. Now, if you remember, I told you, you name it by the chunk. So I'm gonna use this very first one here. I start from my left. You name your number left to right. So I have 1, well, ones, thousands, million. So I say 1, I'm at my comma, and I'm at millions. So 1 million. And I'm going to move on. Read my next chunk. 345,000. When I'm at my comma, I read what my category is. So 345,000. 345,000. All right, and then I read my next chunk, which is last, 200. All right, 2, running out of room. All right, the last but not least, our problem, write this number in expanded notation. And we did this a while back. I cannot remember which number, but if you need to flip back and try to remember what expanded notation is, go ahead and do that. And when we do expanded notation, I remember I take my number out, and I write what place value it is. So this is, we have our ones, and then we have our thousands, and we have our millions. So this would be 1 million. Plus, what's our next number? A 5. What place value is it in? It's in ones, thousands, and then it's in hundred thousands. So that's what it looks like. And I know we did this a while ago, so if you need to look back, go ahead and do that. And then your lesson practice. So it says, name the value of the place held by the 0 in each number. So go through each number, find the 0, and write down thousands, 10,000s, billions, hundreds. Tell me what is the value of the 0 in each of those numbers.